In recent times, some farmers have expressed dissatisfaction with the distribution and management of farmland previously owned and operated by sugar factories in Jamaica. With the recent news headlines regarding the Bernard Lodge and Holland estates, we will now be speaking with Mr. Lenworth Fulton. He's president of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, and he's going to weigh in on the issue. Good morning.
Good
Always
morning.
a pleasure having you here.
Same
On
here.
Smile Jamaica. So we've heard it in the news, sir. First of all, from the farmer's perspective, what are the issues as it relates to the distribution and allocation of these lands?
The issue is that we do not have a very good policy regarding land.
Okay.
Farmers and government have been fighting over land from 1962.
Wow.
And we have not fixed it in either government. And there have never been a minister who have not gotten into some level of trouble with the land distribution. Simply because government, I think, missed the boat with land distribution. They are speculating on land. Land should never be an income stream to government for agriculture. You are leasing land to $10,000 an acre. In down at Holland, $9,000 an acre. It's too expensive.
Okay.
What you need from the land is the production. And the system that the British left here worked well.
But what system is that?
They gave the large investors and small farmers land. If you go to Brazil, they get land. You go to Argentina, they get land. You go to Belize, they're inviting people to come there for land. What they want is the production and the employment from the land.
Okay.
And government will now benefit from the taxes that the people pay. But instead, they are creating an income stream to go into budget from how they lease the land. Look at the confusion we face. You have the Commissioner of Land, a corporation soul. You take away her authority by creating Agro-Invest, SCJ Holding, UDC, all sort of entities that are dealing with land when you have a state agency under law who would not have been making these errors if you had left it to them. And therefore, we are bundling and fighting over these resources that once put 515 tons of sugar to England.
Yeah.
We're fighting over the same resources that do 265,000 tons of banana, 3,000 tons of dry cocoa beans. Today, cocoa is just 100,000 tons. So we are declining, and that decline can definitely be attributed to our failure to put a land policy in place to develop agriculture.
So let me see if I get what you're saying right. You're suggesting that if access to land becomes easier for the farmers, then
Yes.
production would increase.
Indeed, because if you take one example, a man who wants to do beef cattle, we are importing millions of dollars worth of beef into this country on the false premise that it is cheaper in Argentina and Brazil. Cheaper because they get the land. But if a man is going to do 500 acres to do some beef cattle, where will he get the money from at 10,000 an acre to be paying $5 million every year plus the taxes? Probably that will move him into probably $6-7 million just to use the land. It doesn't include his investment to fence, to put in pasture, water system, and to buy the cattle and pay labor. So in this way, we will continue to fail. So I do think that the government and the opposition should now sit down and agree how we're going to move forward with land. Indeed, the only bipartisan thing that I think work in Jamaica is government and the opposition building houses on agricultural land. Anywhere you see one government breaking ground, you see the opposition there, irrespective of who is in power. So they both agree that the best use for agricultural land is to build structures on it. So I think if they come together and say the best use for agricultural land is to give it at peppercorn to serious farmers, and with a condition that the farmers develop the land along the lines of government policy. What do we want? You look on the roads today, people probably are eating more Tahiti apple than orange. Where is an orchard? You don't find one.
No, you don't.
There is Aki. It's a 40 million US trade Where is an ackee orchard? You cannot find 100 acre anywhere. If you look on coconut, we produce 126 million nuts in 2018. As a result, we are paying $200 and $250 someplace to get a jelly coconut. This could come down to $80 if we triple the coconut production. But at the base of all of these things that I'm talking about is reasonable land to produce. You can't develop these structures that everybody there driving a SUV and not growing anything because you're renting land to run all sort of a structure, whether from Agro-Invest to SCJ to UDC, those whole superstructures that are there are benefiting from lease money, which should go into the Ministry of Finance to educate our people if you were running the system properly.
So you're suggesting one of the things that the policy should do is identify the crops that are most lucrative globally, and then say to the farmers, we're going to give you land. This is what we want you to focus on, the ackee, the otaiti, and so on, and then collect the money on the back end.
Exactly. And not only lucrative locally, our first responsibility is to feed our people. And a good agricultural policy will develop an import substitution model. There's $1 billion going out of our budget every year to buy food. So there's a market out there for $1 billion. Not all of it we could do, but why are we eating all this flour and rice and cornmeal when we have yam and sweet potato and dasheen and cassava? So we need to shift a lot of things. What if you go into the private sector and look at them and say, I need people to do some 500-acre orchard, Otaheite apple, mango, ackee, soursop. We love soursop. All the soursop juice you're getting, every bit of it is imported here.
Wow.
We don't grow. This is a crop that you could grow 1,000 acres, 3,000 acres. People are eating more jackfruit than ever. Where is the jackfruit orchard? And we are fighting over land.
Pear too, I realize. Pear, avocado is a big market.
Right? The Otaheite apple that we have wasting can be canned, because if we are going into the supermarket to buy American pear in tin, which is the same succulent fruit, then why can't we develop the industry to process our apple and our Nisberry and tin them? So we have a lot of work to do.
Hugh Johnson is online with us. He's president of the Small Business Association of Jamaica. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. How are you?
Good morning, Dale. Good morning to your listeners, Sir Fulton.
All right.
Morning.
You're joining in conversation as we speak to Lenworth Fulton about farming policy and the idea that land should be widely accessible, and then policy would say, well, these are the things that we should go and collect on the back end. From the Small Business Association perspective, what are some of the issues that you're seeing with this issue of farmland management?
The first dealer is, if you don't have land, you can't farm. And we have been asking for a proper land policy for decades, and it's just not happening. People skirting around the issues. And over the last 3-4 years, we have seen a concerted effort to displace farmers right across the country from the land that they have been farming on without any hesitation, without any consideration for their livelihood. Sir Fulton, speak of the over $1 billion food bill that we have. But it has been growing steadily because farmers have been being removed from these lands. And we're not seeing the correlation. We believe that farmers should be given the opportunity to occupy and productively utilize these lands, but that is not happening. And as you have seen, I've been calling for a body that has been established to help farmers to do better. Destroying the livelihood of farmers, we are calling for the entire board to be removed and for a new set of persons who understand the issues at hand to manage that operation. And I don't know if you are aware of the fact that from yesterday I see in social media the Prime Minister go out on a limb to say something, and that's been refuted in the public space with documentary proof that he is incorrect. And those who are responsible for giving the Prime Minister incorrect information should be sanctioned. And that is what I've been asking for from the small business perspective for quite some time now, without anybody listening to us or adhering to our request. So the serious, it's not just simple production and value add, but the foundation has to be laid. Farmers must be respected across this country, and the agencies that were established to defend the rights of farmers are not doing that. And for those reasons, we're asking for more concerted effort to look to the interest of the productive engagement of farmers in this country.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Lenworth Fulton, because it's said that they're removing farmers, and you use the term agricultural land.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because this type of land has the capacity to yield better crops? People would say, well, why not go someplace else? Isn't everywhere agricultural land? Is there something specific about these sugar estate lands that you feel farmers should retain?
Well, they are the best agricultural lands. They already have irrigation system or surface water.
Okay.
And our people have worked on them for years, nearly as slaves. They work under poor conditions. They end up poor. It went downstream that their families and their children are uneducated. Mm-hmm. So you create a whole poverty class for the way they were treated. Mm-hmm. And they feel now, and rightly so, that it is their time to be rewarded. But it can't be that you start with this land grabbing. What irked me is that both government, every time you comes up to an election, this whole plethora of land is given away, title are being issued, and nobody goes into the titles office to amend the Titles Act or whatever legislation there is to make it something that you could do every day easier.
Oh.
And therefore it become a political gift to get vote. And therefore it would suit any politician to cut up these estates into 1 acre plot, because every acre you cut is a vote. But it does not suit agriculture for the future. So we would like to see a system, a new system. Mr. Johnson is calling for the wholesale firing of people. But if you do that 1,000 times and this system is still there, you're going to continue firing. You need to change the system. Yeah. You need to find a new system where this is no longer attractive to politicians to be giving out 1 acre and 2 acre and get themselves into trouble. You need to find a new way to deal with our lands, both agricultural lands and the commercial land by UDC and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Johnson, we have like half a minute, but I wanted you to address something. You're saying that we have to stop the wholesale giving out of lands, reckless doling out of lands to a connected few instead of established cultivators and proper holdings. It speaks to something Mr. Fulton is saying about a system. What type of system would negate this type of giving out? What do you want to see in terms of a fair share to all farmers?
Okay, there must be a policy to drive that system. I say it over and over. Ghana, a country 10 times the size in population of Jamaica, 37% of their GDP is done through cocoa production. The average cocoa farmer size in Ghana is 5 acres, and they have done it. So for us to believe that there's a panacea by large holders having 500 or 1,000 acres to be productive, it's a farce. So that policy would engage the productive farming sector to get the land in the hand of farmers who can and will do production to move us forward. Simple put. It's not rocket science, but it doesn't suit the government to go that route, because they wouldn't have this to dole out to the connected few. And we are saying enough is enough. The riots in Jamaica has been caused by land issue. Don't allow the 2020 riots to be caused by land issue. From St. Thomas, Smolan, people are demonstrating about being removed from their holding, disturbing their economic operation because of this policy that HCJ is rolling out without regard for the livelihood of farmers.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. It's a discussion that has to continue until we get to somewhere where the farmers are happy and government is happy as well. Hugh Johnson, President of the Small Business Association of Jamaica, joining us online, and with me, Lenworth Fulton, President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society. What do women really talk about? That's next on Girl Talk. That comes after the break. Stay with us.